What's up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name's Scythe, and today we're gonna be taking a look at Soulblight, an insanely difficult roguelike game that's actually very cool and very unique. I'm very excited to show you all this one today because it's kind of crazy and a little bit off the wall. Like, needless to say, there's actually different passive abilities that you're gonna get in the game that are going to be quite ridiculous. Like, one of them is your character might end up being extremely hungry, so you end up gaining passive buffs as you end up eating food. Another one, your character might fart and cause deadly gases to kill enemies. So every time you end up dying or restarting the game in any way, shape, or form, because it's a roguelike, obviously, you're gonna end up coming here to the hub area, and each of these are the different passive effects that are going to affect our character. Now, unfortunately, you can't really choose, well, unfortunate or fortunate, however you want to look at it, glass half full type of thing, right? You can actually, you have to experiment with them to know what they end up doing. So this one I know for a fact because I've tried it, ends up making it so that we get that passive farting effect whenever you eat heavy foods. But let's go over to this wheelbarrow one. I want to see what this one is going to end up being. So you have to activate it in order to actually get the effect, and we've got Obsessive Hoarder. The more different items you're carrying, the bigger the passive bonus received for whatever that is. It's a moon item. I don't know what that even means, but receiving a feeling of loss after leaving or losing last item of an item of a type. You already know what it means. I honestly don't even know if that's a word. But one thing you gotta be careful about at the beginning of the game here is we could continue forward like nothing's ever happened, but don't forget any of your gear, folks. We gotta grab it. So we got a huge club. We got this other thing, a lucky horseshoe, and then, ooh, I actually really like this type of bridge. It's actually really cool. Feels like puzzle blocks. And then we already get right into the game. So this is gonna be the sections or the rooms that you're gonna deal with throughout the entire game, all right? So there's gonna be chests that you can examine them. Sometimes they can end up being trapped. This one says it's ticking like a clock because obviously it's got the gears on it, right? So let's just open it, let's just risk it, let's grab the gold. And then right here, they're trying to instruct us that this is going to be the big crux of the entire game, right? So you're gonna be having to gather a gear. Like, you always have to find the cog in one of the chests that's in the room in order to progress further. So that makes it a little bit crazy, means that you kind of have to search all of the chests. This is a transmutation device. So if any items are in here, we can transmutate. I don't know whether or not it's going to create a new item out of nothing, or if it just, oh, I see. Okay, so there's actually two currencies in this game. There's items that are worth gold, and there's items that are worth, let's just say, a soul gold, right? That's what that icon is right there. So I'm just assuming, because I haven't actually gotten to this point, sorry to say, folks, but I'm just assuming that if we put enough items that are of worth into this thing that have the soul gold, it would mutate all those items or transmutate all those items together and then end up creating something new. So that could be pretty interesting if we could end up getting it. So here's that missing part. Here's some bad berries. Seems like you always end up finding bad berries no matter what, but you want to keep those because, unfortunately, you might get food poisoning, but at least they can stave away hunger, which each of them is going to be a different debuff as well, right? Now, this is kind of like a special chest. There's the normal red berries. There's the delicacy, chocolate, and then there's a lucky healer's brooch, which I think that's just worth gold. But needless to say, in order to get any of these items out of this special chest, you're gonna have to dump items that are worth gold into this little box that's on the side. And sometimes you can end up actually finding different loot here. So we're gonna take this. This is a stitching kit, because if we end up getting a really deep wound after combat, we're gonna have to stitch ourselves up so that we don't end up, just getting more and more weaker. But as you can see, that weight right there in the center is showing that we're going to need items worth, like a whole ton of items that worth the equal amount of 437 gold before we can actually access all the items in this chest. I'm assuming that's mostly because of the lucky horseshoe. But as you can see, when we hover over it, it actually shows the value of this item is 8 gold. We have 0, so we don't have any treasure items in our inventory right now. So that's a little bit disappointing because it means that we're not going to be able to get anything. And if we come over to these are actually chests as well. Lots of things in this game are chests that you wouldn't think so, but that's the thing that's kind of cool about it, is that you can actually examine almost everything. So I already know just from examining stuff that we can open these boilers. There's a bunch of more gold, and oh my goodness, there is that soul gold I was talking about, which, man alive, that was certainly worth a lot. And this boiler in general seems to have a lot of crazy items in them. This weapon has, so you can see on the right side that there's actually two different attack stats, right? I'm going to show you about that right now. So if you hold right trigger, because this game only plays with a controller right now, you're going to be able to take a look at your character info. This is where you can see your passive taints, which are going to be our passive buffs or debuffs, injuries that we receive from combat. And all of these, you can only have 4 of them at a time, meaning that you can only have 4 bad stats at a time or 4 good ones. Conditions, which is good or bad. Temporary stats, or temporary states, these are gonna go away just over time. And then combat. So we've got our long attack. While not engaged, press A to deal damage based on your first attack stat. So that's actually the stronger of the 2 attack stats, right? And then short attack. While engaged, press A to deal damage based on your secondary attack stat. And I'll show you the combat in a little bit, because you wouldn't think so, but it's actually a lot more in depth than you would think. Think so? You would think. I'm repeating words. I'm a little bit sick right now, so you'll have to excuse me. Slam while engaged. Press X to push the enemy away. That one takes up a lot of stamina though. And then hold B to end up blocking, which takes stamina instead of your total health, right? So let's actually engage this guy right here. Now you can see right now, this is the state where we can get a long range attack off because he's further away from us. Ah! And that's actually going to cause crazy damage, and then as he would end up getting close to us, it would kind of, like, the game would actually lock us together in a duel, right? So as we end up getting locked together like that, that is where we're in a close range duel, and that's where certain things end up coming into play. You know, that's where you end up getting, this seems to be the exact same weapon, that's where we end up getting the less attack. So that's the biggest thing too, is we're using a club right now. That's why we've got 49 damage, which is insane for a long swinging attack, and then only 17 when they get close range. Uh-oh, that's not good. Same goes for our defense, where we actually have 30 defense from long range and only 14 when they end up getting up close and personal. So the game kind of has a little bit of a system going on with that, where you gotta watch yourself, you know? You gotta be careful and try to keep your distance and fight a little bit more strategically. You don't want to end up just rushing into a room and fighting all the enemies at once, because usually you're gonna end up getting wrecked, right? So we actually ended up getting 2 cogs from this entire map, and that's gonna end up helping us out quite a bit in the next area. So, hungry, eat something or you will lose even more strength. That's gonna constantly keep stacking over and over and over again. So let's go to our berries, which we've only got bad berries because, unfortunately, you know, even if you end up getting good foods and stuff like that, they're going to end up expiring and being poisonous, right? So right now we ended up getting food poisoning, which is a 3-minute debuff. That's going to be an even more debuff than we just had, but it was worth it because this one's timed, right? So we ended up staving away hunger at the cost of. So let's take a peek what's in this chest right here. We got this horseman's pick, which is going to give us a little bit more damage and defense close range, as well as movement speed, but that's okay. We don't really need that. We're gonna pick that up anyway because we're a hoarder and we want to get all of the different items possible. Let's see what we get in here. Tear of Narrajib. I don't even know what this item is, but as you can see, we've got that reality bending thing. So I'm just gonna end up going in here and let's see if we can end up leaving a special leaving a soul item. What would that be under? Is that this, the flawless gem? Yeah, I think it is. So let's actually dump one of these. That's only 32. Okay, well, let's take it and let's just dump all of them, because I'm assuming this is how this ends up working, right? Oh my goodness gracious, come on. Let me just do it. So let's put all of these in here. Feeling lost, you can't start thinking about that one item you ended up losing, and it gave us a heck of a debuff, like seriously. So can we actually grab this item yet? Reality blending. 40 left, and we have only 12 left. Did this even make a difference? Oh, there we go. There we go. So that's how we would end up putting the item in there. I'm not exactly sure, honestly speaking. I'm sorry to say, folks. This whole thing right here, these chests kind of confused me, because it says that it takes the reality blending, Unless that's what this item gives. Yeah, that's probably what it actually is. Rip me. And it's going to cost us 25 gold. Yeah, let's try that instead. Okay. So that's going to be reality bending. Why would that be reality bending? And then this is going to be 25 gold. So let's do that. Let's put it in. There we go. Nice. Okay, so that's how it works. It's always going to cost money. And yeah, this thing is actually worth reality bending. And for some strange reason, we're allowed to eat it. Why? So let's go to this next area, and then it's going to introduce us to something that's a very interesting mechanic for this game, I think personally, where hold right bumper to sneak. This comes into play as a very, very pivotal role for your character because you don't want to end up activating all the enemies at once. So you can see, typical of Metal Gear Solid games, you can see the view box of this enemy. If we end up letting go of right bumper right now, he's going to end up hearing us because we deactivated it. But, we get a nice free kill. And as far as I can tell, you don't seem to get anything, like any type of loot or benefits off of the enemies, outside of just getting debuffs, because you end up getting into combat and getting your butt kicked, right? So let's take a look at this. That's a transmogrifier thing. It's a good idea to keep sneaking all the way around because as you can see, like there's lots of enemies here. We gotta be very, very careful because otherwise this other guy's gonna come and detect us. So let's get rid of him. And then, yeah, he's gonna end up turning around, which that's okay. Let's actually activate him because I want to show you that green bar around our character is our stamina. And then the white bar that was around us, that was actually our total health. So this is a prime example right here of how we do not want to activate all these enemies at once because otherwise there's going to be 2 of them on us. But yeah, that's the whole thing is, well, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do it. Let's activate them because we got a really good weapon here. So as that white bar ends up dissipating more and more and more, we're going to end up getting different types of debuffs, like different wounds are going to be affecting our character. And also, as you end up taking all of your stamina, you got to be careful about that because it means that you're going to have weaker attacks going on until you end up waiting for your stamina to get back up, right? So, needless to say, folks, that's already pretty much it as far as the gameplay is concerned. Very, very simple game, but very complex behind the scenes. You know, there's lots of gears and different gears. Get it? It's a pun. Lots of different things are going on with this game that really make it stand out, you know? Not to mention the art direction is actually pretty neat as well. Took me a couple times before I actually understood all of this stuff, but hey, it's still really, really cool. So before we end up calling today's video, I want to show you this. You can't really see it right now, but that's actually a chest with teeth. So the disadvantage of these things is we're going to end up getting a little bit of a debuff as we end up taking all the stuff out of it. But they sure do make it worth it. You want to grab all of the items out of it, right? And then I think as we end up activating more and more of those, we'll get more and more debuffs. I'm not exactly sure about that one, but I would just naturally assume so. But there was actually the lucky path that I ended up generating once. And what it did was every luck item you ended up picking up was going to end up giving you more, more to your luck, which means that you would end up getting better and better items outside of like all of this stuff. But if you ended up interacting with any of the toothed chests, you would end up getting insanely bad luck and debuffs, which, yeah, you gotta watch out for all that stuff. So you can see right here, this is a weapon that would actually be really, really good close range, but to me personally, I mean, thankfully with our club right now, we're one-shotting pretty much everything. Now, you might think that we're overpowered, but that's the thing, folks, about this game is if you go in unprepared, you're gonna get wrecked. Because if we weren't using our long-range attack on the enemies, we would end up getting our butts kicked and absolutely get destroyed by fighting like 2 or 3 enemies at a time, you know? So another thing, too, is you can always hold left bumper to kind of slow down the gameplay. I think this is more if you're trying to do something really precise, like while sneaking or something like that. But, oh, never mind, it takes a meter on the right. I've actually never used that ability, I'm sorry to say. So, yeah, I guess that's just slowing down time so that you could end up countering an enemy a little bit easier, right? While in combat. But anyways, needless to say, if you end up blocking right at the last second in combat, you're going to end up getting a slow-mo buff that's going to last like a second or something like that. And ultimately is going to end up, being very, very helpful for you. So let's see we're actually getting interrupted right here. You can kind of see. And now we're actually in that close range duel. Oh boy. I want to try and, oh, thank goodness we ended up getting a long range attack there. Otherwise, that was a close range duel, and that's where we would have ended up getting our butts kicked. You saw that we ended up taking quite a bit of damage, and as soon as we ended up getting our health bar all the way down, we would have ended up getting a passive wound that we would have had to heal or take care of in some way. Otherwise, it would have just got worse and worse and worse. And all of the numbers in the bottom right actually mean something. They're all showing you the different debuffs and stuff like that, or the different buffs. Like right now, we have plus 36% of whatever it is, just because of our heavy weight, like carrying all the items that we can, right? But that's the thing, is as you end up taking more damage, you're gonna end up getting like weaker and weaker and weaker as far as combat is concerned. Now, the other thing too is there is actually a shove ability that you can do up close, so long as you end up having enough stamina to do it, and that's gonna give you a little bit of distance between you and the target. Because that's the thing, is once you end up getting to that close range duel, you're not gonna be able to pull away. You're stuck right up to them. And it's very disadvantageous because you can end up having another enemy come up behind you while this other enemy, you're locked with him and he's kind of pulling you and you're pulling him and you can't really do anything about that, you know? So either way, folks, that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching. Hope you found this video helpful. Links will be in the description for all of this stuff, as well as where you can pick the game up. Hope you have a fantastic day. And if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, I would very much appreciate for you to like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content. Sayonara and stay epic, everybody.